Welcome back to the press box here at MGM Northfield Park. Michael Carter alongside of Kenny Livigood. Before we dive into the Preakness Stakes and this late pick four, beginning in race number 10, listen, Mr. Kentucky Derby, like you picked the superfecta pretty much. I think you had, what, second and third flipped or something like that?
Yeah, if Baiza had got up for second, we would have had a straight super there. So
paid 1,600 big ones. So hoping for another big super here. You got a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, I don't think this one's going to quite pay as much. A little less, it was only 9 horses, but we'll see if we can make it 2 in a row.
All right, Kenny and I are going to start in race number 10, the $100,000 for Barton Stakes. Race number 5 at Pimlico just went off. They began at 10:30 this morning. Race number 13 is the 150th Preakness, and that will go off somewhere around 7:01 p.m. unless they have a storm like they did yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday's race went off. They had an hour delay. They actually canceled the last race because they don't have lights. So yeah, hopefully no rain, and the sun's starting to come out here. So I think we'll be okay the rest of the day.
All right, race number 10. I am 4 deep in this pick 4. We're going to go to the 1, the 6, the 8, and the 9. I'm going to let you talk about the 6 because you actually singled the 6 Invictus, but I used the 1 Cruddo, the 8 Authentic Gallop, and 9 Just a Fair Shake, who is really good in the Federico Tessio. We've seen a lot of the local horses tend to do pretty well at Pimlico over the years, and so I figure we give Just a Fair Shake a shot. But you like the 6 Invictus. This is actually a single for you.
Yeah, I'm going to start with a single here on Invictus. This was a horse that was off time. He was in a strong maiden race at Saratoga behind Chancer McPatrick, who went on to be one of the favorites in the Breeders' Cup and even one of the favorites in the Derby Trail. Just didn't get going as his 3-year-old season, but his return race at Keeneland is sharp. It's fast. Horses have come back out of it and have been fast. So if Invictus moves forward, he's training well. Brad Cox usually has these horses ready to go, and I think this horse second off the layoff. I know he's got to face Stakes Company, go around 2 turns for the first time. It's a tall task, but with the short field, I just thought 7 horses here. He's the one to beat, and he's going to be the favorite, and I'm just going to move on and get through this race. And I do, interestingly, like your 9 Just a Fair Shake, so I'll let you talk about him. But, yeah, I thought he raced well in that race.
Yeah, the other one I thought was really interesting in here is the 8 Authentic Gallop. He's dropping down out of the Virginia Derby, was obviously trying to find a spot in the Kentucky Derby starting gate, and never really got going over at Colonial. Started from post 6, and, fired out of the gate fairly well. Just didn't really like the 1 1/8 all that much. Is going to drop back to the 1 1/16 here against, I wouldn't call it super easier company, but you're definitely not going to have to face those Derby caliber horses.
Yeah, American Promise when the Derby rendered judgment was in the Kentucky Derby, so it's definitely a class drop. This is a weaker field, smaller field. So Authentic Gallop at a big price. I mean, what's he going to be in here? 10? Could he be 10, 12 to 1? So I certainly wouldn't talk anybody off a 10, 12 to 1 shot.
All right, race number 11 is the $100,000 James W. Murphy Stakes, and this is a really interesting race. I singled the 7 Reagan's Wit in here. I'll get to that one in just a second. You are 3 deep to the 1, 6, and 7. Reagan's Wit was second, just beat a neck against $100,000 Stakes Company down at Tampa. Was 4th in the Grade 3 Transylvania Stakes with Ortiz. I almost said in the bike.
Little harness term.
in the irons, but unfortunately, there's been a lot of short prices today, except when there's been races on the turf. So who knows? Maybe you might be headed the right direction as far as that's concerned. But Reagan's Wit did have a victory over a good turf course down at Fairgrounds against Maiden Special Weight Company, won by 8 lengths. Has been racing pretty well against some modest stakes company.
He'll like the cut in the ground because it rained yesterday. He was the beaten favorite in the Transylvania. Absolutely think this is the horse to beat. He should be the favorite. He's going to be the deserving favorite. Second behind Zulu Kingdom, who came back to win on Kentucky Derby Day, so second to a good one. He was the favorite in that race. Test score came back to be second. Scipio ran okay on Derby Day, so I think it was just even though it was a grade 3, I think it was a really good race.
Yep.
So Reagan's Wit, no knocks there on him. The horse I'll touch on is the 1 Twain. Making his second start, he has to clearly move forward. He's only raced in a 5.5 furlong maiden special weight, but that horse was off the screen turning for home, off the screen till the 16th pole, and then he just gobbled up the turf late. This might be a horse that will like 2 turns. It's a mile. He's got the rail post. It's a short field, and if he's the longest shot in a 6-horse field that can finish late and can get the mile, I'll take him and see if he can beat these proven allowance stakes type horses.
Do have a couple of scratches in race number 11. Take out the 2, the 3, and the 5. I actually used the 3 Clock Tower. Unfortunately, is not racing here. Hoping for a little bit of value there. Race number 10. The only difference we have in our selections is you're on the 5 along with the 6, 10, 13. I use the 6, 10, and the 13. The 6 Balkadoff. The 10 Fort Washington. And the 13 Tricari from the outside is really kind of interesting to me. Was 3rd from post 3 last week. or last week. Good Lord, here comes the harness terms again. Last time out.
You're just
in
preparing
the
for battle weekend. That's all.
Grade 1 Makers Mark Mile. Before that, was off, probably 6 months, 5 months, something along those lines. So really raced back well. Johnny Velasquez picks up the mount once again here this afternoon.
I think that was a great return race for Tricari. This would be my top choice if you made me pick a top choice in here. I was a little worried about post 13. Obviously, the scratches here of 3, 9, and 11 certainly help. He gets to essentially go from post 10, so not as wide, but second start off the layoff, and he was third to Carl Spackler, who would probably be 4 to 5 in here, 3 to 5 in here. So strong race. No, again, no knocks on this favorite. I didn't think it was a strong race and that he could probably get the job done. I went other ways just to use other horses to try and get some prices potentially in there. I like Balnikoff cutting back out of the long race. The Pegasus, he raced 10th. It looks like a terrible line, but the Pegasus horses, again, Spirit of St. Louis came back to win on Derby Day, so strong race. And then last start tried to go a mile and a half, so cutting back, I like him a little bit. And I'm throwing in the 5, Abrumar. This horse, I don't really think he's good enough to win this race, but at 20 to 1, you're going to give me the horse that's going to be on the lead. I can't find anybody in this race that's going to make the lead, so it has to be Abrumar. Safi has 2 horses in here, so if Abrumar is on the front, can he get loose? Can he wire the field at 20 to 1? So that's why I'm using him.
All right. So the 13th race is the next one we'll talk about. It is the 150th Preakness Stakes. They'll go a mile and 3/16 over a muddy main track at Pimlico. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll highlight the 150th Preakness Stakes. Welcome back to the Preakness preview show. Michael Carter alongside of Kenny Livingood. And Kenny, a field of 9 going postward. The 150th Preakness Stakes, no sovereignty. And they're pointing him to the Belmont Stakes in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating from the sports side of view. I think you had the horse that ran the best race in the Kentucky Derby, and as long as the horse is doing fine, which obviously he is because they're pointing to a race that's only in 3 weeks, so it's a shame that they're not running. They want to blame it on the 2 weeks. That's fine. To me, if my horse is healthy and he just won the Kentucky Derby, I'm coming right back and trying to win the Triple Crown. But Godolphin has a lot of money. They probably don't need the Preakness win. So good luck to them in the Belmont. I'm glad journalism showed up, and hats off to Michael McCarthy and the Eclipse team for running the runner-up and right back here in the Preakness. So certainly, I guess, not sentimentally, wrong word, but just rooting for them because of the fact that they ran back out of the Derby. So appreciate them for that for the sport.
Well, we got a couple of Derby horses in here. We'll take a look at them here in a minute. We'll start with the one goal-oriented, though. You and I talked a little bit off camera about goal-oriented. Ran on Kentucky Derby Day and won with Fabian Pratt in the irons. And This is Bob Baffert trainee. Obviously was pointed towards this race more than likely because he didn't have any Derby points. Seems to be working fairly well. Was fourth out of 35 at Churchill Downs back on May the 11th. The line before that was fourth, out of 22. So the works have been there. Goal-oriented draws inside. This is going to be a tough group, though. You're stepping up from optional claiming company to a Grade 1 stake.
I think it was a strong race that he faced for the most part compared to normal non-winners of one allowances, because the horse that finished second was on the Derby trail and raced in the Arkansas Derby and raced in another Kentucky Derby prep. So he did beat a good allowance horse there, but Hypnus wasn't good enough to make the Kentucky Derby.
Right.
Didn't get any points, and so he ran in the undercard race. Goal-oriented, it's a quick turnaround for a horse that's made 2 starts. He didn't race as a 2-year-old, so he has no foundation. Now you're asking him in his 3rd start to go mile and 3/16 against proven graded horses. I think it's a tall task for him. You do get the rail, and he's certainly going to go forward. He's probably could be on the lead here. I'm a little against him just for that sake. I don't know. What did you think? I mean, 2 starts just feels like a lot. So.
All right, number 2 is Journalism, and I was dead set against Journalism in the Kentucky Derby because I liked Baeza, of course, and I wasn't a huge fan of some of those races out in California. They were only 5-horse fields. There really wasn't much to kind of go off of, but boy, did Journalism prove me wrong. While he didn't win, he ran a fantastic race at the Kentucky Derby, and he had to come from a long way out of it to kind of pick his way through the pack.
He was much further behind than Rispoli and the team probably wanted. He got squeezed at the start when Bob Baffert's horse decided to go out 7 paths and take the whole field out. So Journalism, no, it should have been Bayern. It was the exact same. Put those two next to each other and watch the head-on. It's the same thing. Little ridiculous that happened again. But anyways, Journalism got shuffled out of that. He broke well and was going to be 5th, 6th. Instead, he ends up 10th, 11th onto the backstretch, and Rispoli gave him a great ride. He got him off the rail, got him in the clear, and he made the first move. He just had Sovereignty on his back, and Sovereignty took the entire length of the stretch to wear him down, but he did. I thought Journalism showed a ton of tenacity in that race because, again, he had so much early trouble and showed that it didn't matter if he was in small fields or big fields. Journalism is a talented animal and a talented son of Curlin. And I think this is a good spot for him. He's probably good. He's the most likeliest winner. Let's put it that way. He's the deserving favorite. If he had won the Kentucky Derby, we're talking about a horse that'd be 3-5 today.
Easily.
And instead, you're going to get 6-5 because he lost in the final 16th of a mile. So, no knocks on Journalism. This is a very talented horse, and excited to see his summer campaign.
To me, with Journalism, you almost either have to toss him or use him in this spot. This is kind of one of those spots where you either have to single him, maybe in those picks or whatnot, or kind of get rid of him.
Yeah, you're either keying on him or you're playing against him. I picked one horse against him, which we'll touch on later, but Journalism, deserving favorite, most likeliest winner. And if I like that the connections are running him back. They didn't commit to it right away, but he trained so well that they said, you know what, let's go to Pimlico and let's avoid Sovereignty and let's go pick up $1 million, I think is their plan. So Journalism, right now he's sitting at even money. And again, I think that Derby field's good. Baeza is a very talented horse. I can't wait to see him in the Belmont. So yeah, no knocks on Journalism at all.
3 American Promise was the winner of the Virginia Derby, and not only won the Virginia Derby, defeated Render Judgment handily in that race. Came right back at the Kentucky Derby, got a good start, and just really faded badly throughout that race.
He made an early move, and there's a rumor that maybe the saddle slipped in there. I mean, I haven't seen it. I saw it from one person, so I don't know if that's true or not. He faded badly. I didn't think he wanted to go 2 turns at 1.25 miles, and he's only cutting back a 16th of a mile. I'm tossing him here, but D. Wayne Lucas shocked last year with Seize the Gray, so can D. Wayne strike twice?
All right, 4 Heart of Honor is my top selection. Has not missed the board in his career, and if you go back and watch the UAE Derby, I'll tell you what a really big effort against Admire Daytona, who ended up racing the Kentucky Derby, finished 19th in the field of 20. In a field of 9. Ended up being a field of 19, but raced absolutely huge. And one of the comments here, it says in touch, but edged right late. He was kind of a little all over the place there through the stretch, but boy, he really raced well against Admire Daytona, and I think this is a good spot for Heart of Honor.
Heart of Honor's race in the UAE Derby is pretty good. I just couldn't pick him because of the fact that Admire Daytona came to run so poorly in the Kentucky Derby. But Heart of Honor was, I don't know. I have a hard time with this horse. I like that they're shipping him and giving a try, but the last 3 starts, he's been second with good trips and hasn't been able to pass the winner, not getting to the winner. So is this a horse that maybe just doesn't want to pass horses? And the race, Admire Daytona kind of backed up that I think form-wise the race was slow on a time form pace speed figure type number, but Heart of Honor is, again, he's 20-1, longest shot on the board. I think that if you're going to bet the longest shot on the board in a 9-horse field, I'm not going to talk you off it, but Heart of Honor, just a little slow for me.
All right, 5 Pay Billy. This is kind of one of those local connection horses. We've seen it before, the Fleet Alex race where he got wiped out at the top of the stretch. We thought for a minute that maybe a local horse was going to win that Preakness Stakes. So this is the kind of the hometown favorite. Has been racing at Laurel, won the Federico Tessio, and we've seen horses come out of that Federico Tessio and do very well in the Preakness Stakes.
Some of them have done well. This is a horse that I'd be curious to see what Just a Fair Shake, who we talked about a little bit in that pick 4. If he comes back to run well, then I'm going to upgrade Pay Billy. Right now I think he's too slow, but if the horse comes back out of that race and runs well, that made him earn it and he had to draw off late and beat him. But if Just a Fair Shake comes back and runs well, then I'd be more inclined to use Pay Billy. Right now I think the race is a little too slow, but local hopeful, so Maryland's got something to root for.
All right, 6 River Thames was third in the Bluegrass, and that was a really kind of a big effort. But this is another horse that I'm not so sure likes to pass horses. This horse either needs to be like close to the lead or on the lead to have a chance. Irad's back in the irons here. Has been off of Lasix since racing in the Fountain of Youth out at Gulfstream Park. Was defeated by Burnham Square and East Avenue. Burnham Square ended up in the Kentucky Derby. What do you make of this horse?
River Thames raced well in the Fountain of Youth. He got chased early, had to take back. I think the plan was to be on the lead, and he ended up chasing Neo Equos, and then he made the first move, got caught late by Sovereignty. So he got beat by the Derby winner, but then came back into Bluegrass, and he had a really good trip. It was a race that was kind of paceless, which is why I liked Burnham Square a little bit in the Derby, because he came from last in a race that had no pace. River Thames is supposed to win that race if he can go this distance. I think this is going to be a great horse in 3 weeks if they run him back in the Met Mile maybe, or in the Woody Stevens. They probably won't race him against older horses, but race him in the 3-year-old race and a 7 furlong race. River Thames, I think he's very talented. He's proven that. I don't know about a mile and 3/16. He's had chances to win. He could have held off Sovereignty. He had first run on him, and he didn't hold them off. And then in the Bluegrass, he didn't go by East Avenue, who wanted to get past. He looked like he wanted to get past, and River Thames never went by. So, and then he got run over from behind. So I'm against him. I just don't think he's getting the distance, but he might have the lead turning for home, so you get a thrill.
One of the biggest disappointments, I think, in the Kentucky Derby for a lot of people was the 7 Sandman. Everybody had a lot of really kind of big hopes and aspirations coming out of the Arkansas Derby. Finished 7th. I know he got a couple of calls there late. He kind of got bottled up in some traffic. I don't think the connections necessarily want. This is a closing horse, but I don't think they wanted to be 18th, 10 lengths off the lead that early.
He had a long way to come, but this is a horse that I feel like the horse players that didn't play Sandman got a little justification on. You're not supposed to bet horses that get perfect dream scenarios, which he got in the Arkansas Derby. They flew cornucopia, they went 44 to the half, and Sandman came flying. And both horses out of that race, Sandman and Publisher, came back to be complete non-factors in the Kentucky Derby, even though they got fast races from closing into perfect setups. And I think that, listen, the story on Sandman's awesome with the West Point and then the influencer that they have that follows this horse. So it's a great story, but I just feel like in the Kentucky Derby, the horse players that played against him were vindicated that, you know what, we made the right move playing against a horse that needs a trip, needs a setup. I don't think he's getting it here. Pimlico is naturally a speed favoring track. It usually is in the Derby. There's not a ton of pace in here. There's a couple horses that will go forward. It'll be honest. It's not going to be slow, but Sandman's going to be 8th or 9th onto the backstretch, and it's just going to be a tough trip again for him. So I'm leaving him off here, especially if he's going to be 5-1 in this spot.
8 Clever, again, is a horse that you used on top. I picked second. Is kind of stepping up in class after winning by 4 lengths in the $200,000 Hot Spring Stakes down at Oaklawn Park last on March the 30th. Had a few extra weeks off. Kind of the fresh legs here for trader Steve Asmussen.
This is a horse that if someone's going to beat journalism, I think it's Clever again. He's moving forward at the right time. He's gotten better with every start. It's his 4th start, son of American Pharaoh. So the distance, obviously, no problem. And he's training very sharp. He was sharp in that Hot Springs. He beat a nice horse in Gaming from the Bob Baffert barn, who raced well in the Breeders' Cup last year as a 2-year-old. So it was a good race. And Clever again, I don't know if he has to make the lead. I'm hoping that he doesn't need the lead because I do think Baffert will get it from the rail. But if he can sit there stalking off the 1 and maybe in front of River Thames, maybe Clever again has the lead turning for home and he can dig in a little bit. This is the improving horse at the right time, and I'm hoping that maybe they catch journalism, maybe not on his best day. Or maybe Clever again just takes that step forward and proves he's a contender in this 3-year-old division.
9 Cusker shipping over from Keeneland after winning the Grade 3 Lexington Stakes. Had a win before that down at Gulfstream Park against Maiden Special Weight Company. Gets Luis Saez on the irons, and we all know the story of Luis Saez and Maximum Security. So he's going to try to win a Triple Crown type race here in the Preakness.
This horse raced really well in the Lexington. He's going to be close to the pace. He should be in front of those closers. Might even be in front of journalism because he's not that slow early on. Journalism, I still think, is going to end up, fifth or sixth on the backstretch. He's not going to be second or third because you got the 1, the 6, the 8 are all going to be forward. And I think Gosker is going to be close too. And at 20-1, he's taken a step forward in every start. It's just his fourth start. It's kind of the same angle, the fresh legs. Moving forward at the right time and just catching some of these horses back on short rest off the Derby. So I'm playing him at a price. I don't think he's good enough to win the race. I don't think he's fast enough. He would have to take a major step forward. Yep. But if he just takes a little step forward, I think he can get in the triple, and this is my key kind of to be third in this race at 20-1.
All right, so I'm at 4, 8, 6, 7 in this year's Preakness Stakes. What do you got, Ken?
I'm going to go 8, 2, 9, 6.
All right, best of luck. You've heard our pick 4 selections. Best of luck in this year's Preakness Stakes. Make sure to stop out outside. We have the food tent. We've got plenty of beer stations, plenty of bars set up throughout the building. Still contests going on throughout the day. Lots going on here at MGM Northfield Park.